Welcome back to Cozy Kings Radio.
Another exciting, super exciting, amazingly exciting
episode.
Volcano Bay
episode. We weren't really planning on doing one, but then we went to Volcano Bay 2 days this week, early October.
We just upgraded our passes, and I had never been there, and we went twice in 3 days, and so that was fun. And you had been there once on a comp ticket.
Yeah, I went once last spring, and it was honestly not that great when I went last spring. So I didn't quite feel the need to return this quickly. Well, this quickly. It's been a year and a half. But I figured the pass upgrade, I think for Florida resident upgrade renewal, I think the only difference was $60 to upgrade to a 3-park. So I was like, well, we'll just chip away at it instead of spending a whole day there feeling like we're wasting money. What if we just went and just did a couple quick trips and then worked away at all the water slides? And we actually worked away at them immediately on Monday. We went Monday morning. It was raining a little bit. It was overcast. The weather really was not pretty, but the park was open, and we had got early entry with our preferred 3-park pass, and we had an amazing time. We got on all the slides, which was great.
We had no problem. We killed the whole resort in 4 hours.
We were so into it that we actually came back today on Wednesday to go back. The weather was really nice today, which meant that given they're closed on Tuesdays and Thursdays right now, it was definitely a little more crowded. And then the water park is closing early November through March next year as the first ever winter closure, a kind of a combination of maintenance needs as well as 2020 and their the attendance being lower due to the travel restrictions around the country and the world. So they gave us 2 extra months on top of our pass as an apology for being closed, because we got 3 park pass.
So now we're good through March 2022.
So that
feels nice.
That's nice. So today we'll talk a little bit about Volcano Bay. I'm sure you guys are all somewhat familiar with the existence of this water park, but it definitely is one of the most talked about around the world. And since we kind of really got to experience everything around the park, really kind of got to feel the vibe and the in and outs of the resort, we're just going to go ahead and talk about the park, our experience with the attractions, what we liked, what we didn't like, what some of our favorites were. I'm excited about talking about our favorites. So, that'll be the episode.
Our traumatic experience with one of the slides.
Yeah, I can't believe it. So, won't give away too much, but I wrote the slide a year and a half ago, and I absolutely loved it. But I wrote it after I wrote another couple things, and I was kind of prepared. And then this time I wrote it, and it wasn't pretty. We'll get to that.
We'll talk about that later
in the episode. So we'll go ahead and just kind of start off about the overall theme of the resort, the vibe. So I want to start the parking structure, really, because Volcano Bay is one of those parks that was kind of put into place where Universal had a little bit of room left, and they were like, well, this is going to fit for the water park. And so they put it on the west end of the resort, southwest end of the resort, in a triangle between the I-4 Interstate Freeway and Turkey Lake Road, which is the road that runs behind the resort. So it's kind of
and Cabana Bay.
This triangle. Cabana Bay was already added in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2010 or 2014. It feels old.
I think it's actually. Couldn't we
I think it was 2014 because it was Diagon Alley.
Because we were. We talked about this. We couldn't remember. It's like the Mandela effect. I feel like I could remember Cabana Bay being an older expansion, but I think it was 2014.
It was 2014 because it was
and then Sapphire was 15,
before,
and then
Ventura was 17 or 18.
I thought Aventura was 16.
No, because it opened after the water park.
Okay, so the water park was 2017.
Yeah, it opened in 2018, August 16th. Wow, National Roller Coaster Day.
Wow.
I mean, there's nothing related to roller coasters in Volcano Bay. But
anyway,
so how it starts, because of the location of the water park, there is no parking nearby. So when you park in the parking structure, there's special parking for Volcano Bay, which is kind of cool. Then you board a bus, and you take that bus to the far southwest end of the resort, and that's where Volcano Bay is located. You get out, you go through security, then you go underneath a tunnel, which is the freeway entrance and exit. And then you go up a set of escalators to get to Volcano Bay. So it's a little bit you definitely have to travel from one end of the resort
nature of getting to the park is actually, I kind of find it. I mean, the bus station Like, where you board the buses from the parking lot is, like, not cute. Like, it looks very temporary. I think we talked about this, and we're like, maybe they're not exactly sure how they want to go about getting people from the parking garage to the park right now as far as, like, traffic flow and, like, the logistics end. So they're not doing a lot of, like, permanent infrastructure until they really have an idea of, like, what they can and can't do.
It's a bit strange because the water park has been open for 3 years and it's been the same setup.
It just looks so temporary.
On my first visit, the buses were really crowded, and I was like, wow, this is kind of wild. We have to all go into like a physical public transportation kind of bus.
Yeah.
We're all wearing swim shirts and shorts, and it's Florida, so it's real effing hot out, and everyone's sweating, and it's, especially on the way back, people are wet. And so I didn't quite think it was that great of a product. I kind of really thought that the infrastructural involvement of you getting from your car to the water park was really not very ideal. I will say that now with COVID, I mean, we showed up early. We had pretty much the buses to ourselves, so
yeah,
that
got
really
assigned
improved.
Seats, which is nice.
They do assign seats now, which is kind of pleasant.
Groups, yeah. And like
so
the time
that's
of
just a
day,
COVID advantage, I guess.
The time of day that we arrived and the time of day that we left the park on both days, it was like the buses were a non-issue. Which is funny. Like, I'm surprised that they have security after the buses. So, like, if you go through security with something that you have on your person that you can't have, you have to take a bus back to your car.
Which I do know they have a bunch of metal detectors located in the parking structure before you board the bus.
Right.
So maybe that's something they use on like busier days just to ensure that you don't get that shuttle effect where too many people come back. So I'm not entirely sure because I really am not trying to toy with Volcano Bay on the weekend. They always like reach capacity, and water parks when they're busy, they're really not my gig. I really don't like
water parks when they're busy are really hard to enjoy.
Like, it's hot,
even if you're just trying to kick it in a lazy river. Like,
it just isn't it.
It's hard to find an inner tube. It's too crowded, too many people, too close. Like, but of course, like our crowds on our visits, especially our first day, our Monday, where the weather was it was warm but overcast, so. No sunglasses or sunscreen necessary. Super comfortable. We did get a couple spots of rain, and everything was a walk-on, which was exhausting because that meant climbing all the way to the tops of these slide towers in one go, and then going down the slides immediately and continuing.
Especially on the 3 drop sides, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They are located on top of the volcano, about 128 feet up, if I'm not mistaken. And walking those 209 steps, as the fun fact says in Fun to Ride. Several times, I mean, at least like 3 or 4 times. Yeah. It gets a little tiring, especially if there's no line because you walk right on. So,
and it sucks getting up there. If it's a walk on, by the time you get up there, they're ready for you to slide. You're like out of breath, and you're like, I have to hold my breath for a minute to like slide on these things because otherwise I will be taking on water, and it's like really stressful. Honestly, like it stresses me out.
This is how we almost died at Volcano Bay.
I mean, that's part of it. We'll get into that later.
So you take the bus over, and then you go to security, walk on these tunnels.
And then you go under the slope, and the tunnel is cute. It's got like the big puka conch shells that are all like glowing. They do a nice job. It reminds me of like Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye at Disneyland because they had like this really long connection, basically getting you from your car to the park is a lot like Anaheim getting you from Adventureland to the show building of Indy. And so you kind of, it's kind of cumbersome, but you also feel like you've gone to another place. Like, by the time you go under the tunnel and then you take the escalator up to the entrance of the park, and, like, they do a really good job. Like, the tree line, the sight lines are pretty solid. You can hear the cars. That's really the only thing is just, like, the buzz of traffic, of, like, resort traffic and also freeway traffic or public traffic. And that's kind of just a theme with the park is like if you're on a perimeter of the park, you can hear traffic unless you're bordering Cabana Bay. Where the park meets Cabana Bay is really like one of the only quiet places in the park.
Yeah, again, it's wedged between like major infrastructure, public infrastructure. So the water park does have a couple silent issues here and there where you are really I mean, there are slides that hover over.
Yeah, once you're on the slide towers, it's kind of game over. You're on ground level. It's pretty, and you're in Volcano Bay, and it's cohesive and stuff. But once you go on a ride, then you start seeing everything else, which is fine. It's not. I mean, it's not really a detractor for me. I get fascinated by what you can see. I love. Okay, so the red dropout slide. What's that one called? Do we have that?
Oh, well, I think we're talking about it later, so I don't have it pulled up right now.
Well, that one. It's right.
It's called this.
Ko'oriki body plunge. So like the red straight down dropout slide. When you're like loading up in the chamber for that one, you have a fabulous view of the entire resort in front of you. Both parks, every hotel except for Endless Summer. I guess you could probably look at Endless Summer if you like craned your head enough.
You tried,
but it's just cool, like seeing Hulk and Rip Ride Rocket, and they're just like layered against each other from this point of view that like I never thought I would get from anywhere maybe other than like an airplane. But yeah, I don't think it's a big issue. I enjoy being surrounded by the lushness of it when I'm on the ground, but then when I'm up in the air, when we're on the platforms and stuff going up to the slides,
focus
I kind
really
of enjoy
isn't the interstate anyways. Like the focus is looking at the slides while you queue up to slide them. Overall, I do want to give a quick mention to Wet n Wild Orlando that was ran by Universal for many years.
Yes.
This is the replacement product. So Universal really looked at the market and said, well, Wet n Wild is the most outdated water park in all of Orlando.
Yeah.
Aquatica was a super hot ticket. Aquatica was kind of like paved the way for Volcano Bay in our opinion. And so they closed Wet n Wild just a few months before opening Volcano Bay. So they really they passed on the torch to Volcano Bay. And I think that we need to give credit to Universal for really realizing that what Wet n Wild was and what it should have been and to be a modern water park. People no longer come for the slides, they come for the atmosphere sort of thing. Disney's water parks and Aquatica had shown that vegetation and detail and attention to storytelling became increasingly more important. And in order to like fight or dominate that market, the water park market, which is pretty intense in Central Florida.
Yeah.
They really had to step up their game and realize, create something that was on par with their actual parks. And so they marketed Volcano Bay as a water theme park. I will say there's nothing that really makes it more than a water park. We'll get into that. But
it's just a very, very nice water park, but it's still a water park. Also, just on that Wet n Wild tangent, you made that great connection earlier when we were there that the Ko'oriki body plunge, the red one that's just straight down, it is the spiritual successor to the most iconic water slide at Wet n Wild and perhaps one of the most iconic water slides ever built, which was the Bombay.
Which is one of the very first.
It was the original trapdoor body slide.
It went straight down, and so even though they didn't have to do it, they really incorporated as one of the main attractions
it was such a great
at Volcano Bay to have the now largest and longest and tallest straight down trapdoor body slide of 128-ish foot. So that's really cool. We'll talk a little bit more about those body plunge slides later. So first, we kind of want to dive into the overall theming. So as I discussed, they really had to like fill that void of having an atmosphere, having a story to tell, and in a way, they went above and beyond because they have interaction that no other water park has with the Tapu Tapu system.
Yeah.
Now, Tapu Tapu is a wristband, for those who don't know, that you get.
RFID.
No matter what kind of ticket holder you are, you get this wristband, and everyone uses that to reserve ride times or to interact with features around the park. So on the lazy river, you can stand on the bridge. Exactly, like trigger fountains, or there's my favorite effect.
Pools.
Well, there's two favorite effects for me. One is in the walkthrough through Volcano.
In the volcano.
You can activate like this beautiful wall of twinkling lights.
Yeah.
That
like a fiber optic.
Yeah, that like
hieroglyphs.
Almost like an avatar.
Yeah, it's super. Yeah, very Pandoran
vibe. And then my favorite was actually I think the one direct pool, which was there was like a surfboard standing up. Yeah, and you would like touch with your Tapu Tapu and then surfboard and you dive underwater. Yeah. And then there would be all these like animal sounds.
There would be porpoises that you could hear.
So there was a killer one we listened to, a dolphin one. So that was really cool.
They just got some really cute. You'll find them all over the park. There's ones that we didn't even do, but all at the rec pools and you'll find them like on bridges that cross the lazy rivers and stuff, and then inside the volcano too.
So I will say that there's one thing Orlando Resort doesn't get enough credit for, but every single one of their 3 parks, whether you consider all 3 theme parks or not, they all have a very interesting technological interaction effect that no other theme parks really have, and that's obviously the 2 Wizarding Worlds of Harry Potter with their wands, but then Tapu Tapu really is, you don't need to purchase anything for that. You get to really play and interact with other guests and with effects and kind of just explore the park, and however cheesy that may sound, I really think it adds like this detail. I had the greatest time just kind of activating these weird things. Wherever we saw like a tapu tap point, we're like, let's hit it, let's see what happens.
We have to do it.
It was really cool.
It's irresistible. Yeah, it's a component that is not just like unique to this water park, but you really can't do this much in any other resort except for it's a very Wizarding World. It's very much in the same vein as casting the spells and things. So it's such a that level of like interactive audio animatronics and effects and things is very universal.
And it's funny because we talk about these parks and we read about these parks and we listen to podcasts and watch videos all day, every day, and I feel like that's just not brought up enough. Like I feel like it's hardly brought up.
Yeah.
And Tapu Tapu is really a moment for me to kind of highlight that for the whole resort, but it really does give that park an edge. And that's just one of the few details. They tried creating different themed areas. They all kind of blend together. I'll be honest. I didn't quite understand what was what.
The different neighborhoods
at first
are kind of like I was expecting something that was a little bit more cohesive. The park as a whole is a very cohesive product. In fact, it's so cohesive that there is really no rhyme or reason in my mind to where the 4 different villages begin and end. There's the Krakatoa village, which is Krakatoa is the name of the actual volcano and also the name of the water coaster.
Only one slide is part of Krakatoa, even though this listed differently. The park maps inside the park only show one slide, which is the red dropout slide. Is the only slide part of Krakatoa. And then there is
thematically
Wave Village, which is where the wave pool is. There's a lot of rec pools there, which the rec pools are awesome.
The rec pools are really fun.
Welcome to a water park where like the water is actually deeper than 3 feet.
And you can actually go for a real swim.
Yeah, there's a rec pool with a 6 foot.
More than 6 feet because
6 foot. Well, no, I think it's 6 feet. Anyways, your entire body is submerged, and it was really pleasant to be at a water park
like
where
we're
it
tall.
isn't completely
like our bodies
kid-safe.
were submerged to stand on the floor of this thing, so it had to be more than 6 feet.
No, I can still stand like this.
I couldn't.
Yeah, no, but like I am. Yeah, but that's because this is still like this would be 6 foot.
It still seems. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're right. It just.
I mean, it says 6 foot in the signs. I'm gonna trust that.
It's just that. Okay. I wasn't sure.
You know they have to list that on the sides of the walls.
I only saw the buoys that like represented a drop in.
What do you call that? An elevation?
Elevation.
And depth.
Depth, yeah.
So they have Wave Village, which obviously is that. And then they have River Village, which one of the rivers runs through there. I guess not made that connection. That's where the Lazy River runs.
Yeah.
And then you have Rainforest Village, which is where the Fearless River runs.
The big
but I feel like the majority of the park is the rainforest.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's cool to have that theme, but there was not enough of a differentiation between them.
And there's not a lot of signs. Like, I feel like it's...
I think maybe the main goal is so you can remember which freaking locker center you're at, because, like, it's called Rainforest Locker, or it's called Water Village.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some logic there in, like, creating these little neighborhoods, but if you didn't look at a park map, you would never know that they had these neighborhoods set aside.
And it drew inspirations of themes from around the world that aren't necessarily respective of the areas they're in. So there's like a really distinct Chinese theme.
Yeah, there's a Chinese junk ship bar in the Rainforest Village.
No, it's actually in the Wave Village because it's part of where the Rainforest is.
Sure?
Yeah, because
I'm talking about the other one.
You're talking about the one next to the Fearless
River?
Not
the Dragon Longboat bar.
Because Dragon Longboat is in Wave. That's the Chinese themed one.
There's 2 Chinese-themed ones.
I thought one was just like Rainforest.
The blue one is... Yeah, the Rainforest one, that's a Chinese junk ship. You can tell by the way...
Okay, so they're all supposed to be Chinese-themed.
Yeah, the way the sails are organized.
Because the actual, like, rock work and landscaping over by the Dragon one is a little more Chinese. But that's because, it's obviously themed to Dragon. So, anyways, there seems to be a little bit of a cohesion problem. It's not even a problem. The cohesion is really strong, but the differentiation between the themed areas makes almost no sense to me. Except for, I guess... I don't even know. Maybe because of the Lazy River. But then they have the whole theme of like riding on the turtle back on one of their family slides. But that's in like River Village.
Ika Moana is like themed to whales and sea turtles, and it's in the River Village.
But like obviously there's no whales nor sea turtles in a freaking river.
Yeah, I mean,
it's questionable.
It's just an unnecessary.
It's a weird flex. So just so you know, there are themed areas, but I can't quite understand what is what. Even though there are signs for it, it doesn't really seem to line up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I will say that they have a bunch of really cool looking little beaches. It's not like most water parks have like the giant areas where all the seats are, and it's almost annoying. But Volcano Bay has a bunch of really small beaches, whether they're at slide exits or whether they are underneath cabanas. I find it like, unless you really want to be on the main beach over by the wave pool, you have options to really find a really relaxing spot in the shade anywhere around the park, which is really cool. I really like that. It's kind of like everywhere you look, there's an unexplored area because there's just all these little mini beaches, which I really appreciated.
It's so easy to like find a spot that's. I mean, I guess on a quiet day like ours, it's easy to find a corner, a nice shady corner with open lounge chairs, so that you can, like, if you really want to chill out, like in the excitement of it all. If you want to sit on the shore of the central wave pool,
which is called Waturi Beach,
you can
for
do
the
that.
Waturi people.
Yeah, the Waturi people, the fake indigenous people that inhabit the land of Volcano Bay.
I don't know how well it's aged, even though the park's 3 years old.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. At least they're fantasy enough, and not like.
I hope they consulted actual indigenous people when like.
Of what region? Well, here that's probably their excuse. There's like a million.
Well, it's Polynesia. Yeah, technically it's all Polynesian because you can get things that are like Japanese, Chinese influences and still call it Polynesian because Polynesia and Oceania, which would explain because there's also an Australian component in some of this stuff, like the water slides over in the rainforest village, like the Pui'i round raft slides and stuff. There's a lot of Australian accents and kia oras and. You know, there's moments that it's like it reminds me of Aquatica, which is heavily Australian themed. So it's kind of, I think of this whole park as kind of being themed to the backside of the globe. You know, the part of the globe that's almost all water
and tropical,
and the regions that border that part of the ocean. That's it's really like the Pacific. It's just a general Pacific theme. Everything there's like every country that touches the Pacific Ocean. You could find influences in this water park. At least in my mind, that's how I see it. But yeah, I think I loved like just kind of wandering around the midways. Lots of foliage. This park looks great now. It's going to grow in. The foliage is going to grow in. It's going to look even more beautiful as the years go by. But you stumble on these little nooks and crannies that have ideal spots for chilling out and getting away from like the noise. And the sun.
Yeah, there's a lot of shade, which is really nice because that's obviously the biggest downside of water parks, especially in places like Central Florida or SoCal or anywhere where it gets really brutally hot in the summer. It is almost dangerous to be at water parks unless you have shade and hydration. And luckily, Volcano Bay does a good job catering to the fact that it storms almost every day in the summer. Like you need to have places to hide. Without your stuff getting completely soaked, but you also need places to really kind of take a break from the sun. And we really had we had good luck with finding spots. And I would say that even on the really busy day I went last year, we had a really nice spot underneath the volcano, which I guess everything has a view of the volcano. It's all very strategically placed. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I want to give a shout out to is the locker centers. So the locker centers are combined with restrooms, and they all have several attendees working the locker centers.
Yeah.
So, like, if you have a locker problem, there's someone right there with you. Or if you're a first-timer, they will literally walk you to the lockers, and they will fit your sizes and find the best locker for your needs and set it up for you, including your tapu-tapu. So that's a really nice feature that really kind of made me feel like I was really at, like, a resort and something a little more exclusive than a regular water park. It didn't feel like a locker center. It was just another locker center, like a concrete pit. It really felt like it was something a little more deluxe. That was nice. And then let's see what else do we have here. The lazy rivers are really cool. So Aquatica has 2 lazy rivers. One that goes really fast, you have to wear life jackets for it, and one that's slow and relaxing through aquariums. Now Volcano Bay has a similar setup, but they're a little bit larger.
Yeah.
They have the Fearless River, which is called the... God, what is it called? They have the weirdest names here, guys. I swear. I need to always look it up. Please hold. Oh, yeah, it's called Te Awa, the Fearless River. And that goes through the backside of Volcano, so it goes underneath all the slides. It's not as pretty, but it's kind of cool. And then you have the normal waters, the normal lazy river, which is called... What is it called? Oh, it's called the Copico Winding River. And that one goes through a volcano and has a couple of really cool light effects in there.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy these lazy rivers, but I don't know how much of a lazy river person I am. I feel I feel kind of indifferent about them.
like
they're fun,
yeah.
but I really am kind of there for the cool stuff.
I couldn't be bothered with the action Lazy River because I'm just not like I don't feel like putting on a life vest.
I did the action Lazy River a couple times. It's cool and it goes fast, but when it's busy, God, you keep just running into people. And I just don't really like the fast Lazy River there because half the ride you're like underneath the volcano, but you're on the backside, so you're underneath a bunch of superstructure and steel and mesh and nets. And it's honestly not even that pretty. But the regular Lazy River was pretty cute. There was a lot of vegetation. It went through the actual volcano.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, I just don't think the Lazy Rivers are that great there. I feel like they kind of miss the magical spot. I find them more fun off-ride where you can like,
yeah,
tap
I kind
the
of
effects.
enjoy them as almost more as decoration than as...
Yeah, they really weren't that spectacular. I wish there were a little more going on, maybe a little more effects, maybe a little more... maybe more tunnels or something. The volcano part is really cool, but it's like really short. I feel like we're in the volcano for maybe 50% of the ride.
Yeah.
So the Lazy Rivers are fun, but they're a good transition to the family ride. So, so how the park works is you have a Tapu Tapu, and if all the slides require you to tap in for a reservation, you have to kill time somewhere else. You can't ride unless you have a reservation for it, or the sign says you can ride it right now.
And by ride now, they mean you can get in the standby line for it now.
Yeah, you don't have to wait to stand by.
You make a reservation for a ride, and when it says you can come back, they're actually coming back to a queue.
Which sometimes is really quick, sometimes it's not that quick. But the Lazy Rivers are one of the few things that aren't on the Tapu Tapu, so that's one of the reasons that they are so...
Lazy Rivers,
they're so big,
pools.
And they're really made for like masses, because on a busy day, you better believe you're going to be sitting in the freaking Lazy River 5 times because you're waiting for a 2-hour reservation.
Or
which
going
again,
to
I
a
don't
bar,
like as much.
one of the many bars.
The bars are awesome.
Every village has its own bar. I guess that's the other reason. You've got four bars,
and
villages.
drink prices aren't bad. It's usually $12, and you get a souvenir cup with it, like a special glass.
And then refills are $10.
And refills are $10. These are for cocktails, and then your canned beers are like $6 to $8.
Yeah, you can get a White Claw for like $7.
Prices are not terrible. Like, we haven't actually done a whole day yet where we're just gonna hang out at the bar, just because we've just been trying to chip at it without it being too busy at the park. But I'm sure we'll have a day where it's gonna be busier, and we're just gonna hang out at the bar and direct pools, and
Also, another thing that you don't have to like tap in for is like the play areas, all the like the kiddie water slides and stuff. They're really cute. They're over by Krakatoa. It's like a really cleverly integrated. The natural slope that kind of leads into the caves of the volcano features a variety of one-story cabanas. The cabanas at this place are awesome, you guys.
There's so many different kinds, and they're all beautiful. There's ones with 2 levels. There's ones that are really stretched out.
There's ones that are elevated on the edge of the volcano. There's ones with elevators to take you to the top.
They're everywhere. Like, you have a nice selection of... Use a travel agent like me.
Yeah.
And you can get a really cool cabana.
Because every cabana here is awesome. There's no bad ones. There's no bad locations.
And it's really cute because we walked by all of them to go through the volcano a couple times. And every little family has their own little sign where they welcome you. And it's really nice. Like, I would definitely recommend doing
Kia ora, Miller family.
Like, I want to do one.
I would love to do one
when I
someday.
have a larger party,
But yeah, so on the edge of the volcano leading up to, like, over by Krakatoa and stuff, it brings you up to maximum height level for the water slides for the kids. So it's actually like a slope up. You don't even have to take stairs to get to the little slides because of that natural slope. So I find that really clever. That's getting really popular with like water parks that are being built now, or like expansions where the kiddie slide areas are like a variety of like naturally elevated kiddie slides built into a berm of sorts, and being able to just walk up to access them without using any stairs. So I kind of like that. I think that's fun. I think that makes it easier for people to take part in them, and maybe a little safer instead of like wet staircases and stuff. And kids running around. I don't know. I liked their kiddie water area. Some kiddie water play areas can be like so ugly and like chaotic looking, and the one here is not. I feel like it's very space efficient and I think it's Runamukka Reef is the one that I'm talking about. That's the big one that has like the slides in it.
Yeah, so there's only one real kiddie area, like family area like that.
Yeah, variety
but then
of
there's rec pools, which is always nice.
The Puka-Uli Lagoon, that's the one that is over by Oh Yeah, Oh No.
Yeah, that's
one's
a really cute
one too.
And then there's obviously the really, really pretty one. That's the reef that we went on. And then there's I guess, a smaller area that's part of Runnamucka area, which is called the Tiki Reef. It's even smaller.
Tot. It's a tot spot.
Yeah.
A splash pad, if you will. Everyone loves splash pads.
But then, of course, Volcano Bay is famous for like its high capacity, big family rides.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and start with the ones on the southwest end of the park, which are located in the rainforest area, which is Puiwi of Maku,
Puihi of Maku, and
Puihi and Maku.
Yeah,
Puihi of Maku.
Yeah.
Puihi round raft rides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the raft.
Don't even worry about the names.
The park refers to everything: round raft ride, teardrop raft ride, family raft slide.
So these are the slides
coaster,
that have like
aqua
6-person round rafts where you still have like individual seats.
They have. I think this has got to be some kind of record for like family raft slides because they've got. They have 5 water slides in this park that can seat 4 adults or more.
Yeah.
Which is really unheard of because the water coaster can seat 4 adults comfortably. The Pui'i slides, there's 2 towers of family raft slides that each have 2 slides each, and the shorter ones, the shorter tower, it has the 6-passenger, almost like they're like honeycomb shaped. Like, any of you 90 kids remember honeycomb cereal? I mean, this is literally what these rafts look like. They're yellow, little 7-chamber. Rafts with a hole in the center and 6 on the outside. The 5-passenger rafts on the larger, taller ones are more comfortable, and I think are more accommodating to like larger bodies. But the 6-passenger ones, again, are total people eaters and are a really good size for like little kids, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely a tighter fit for the big.
Yeah, if you got a big booty, like it's a little harder. But I mean, again, the capacity for these things can't be beat. The 6-passenger ones, Maku and Pui'i.
Yeah, so Maku is a big version of the new saucer slides. Yeah. So you imagine just the saucer slides, but then you're sitting in. Yeah. You're going through them on a 6-person raft.
A lot of Pro Slides' latest water coasters and stuff have like the saucer turnarounds, which are kind of a weird gimmick for us. Like they look cool.
They're just big turns, but you go through them so fast, you don't really get to enjoy them.
I guess it's supposed to amp up the G-forces, kind of like how the constrictor tubes on like constrictor slides can amp up the G-forces, but I find those a lot more effective. And we've got a couple of those in this park too. We'll get to in a minute.
But yeah, Maku is the saucer one. It's yellow, 6 people, and they have little geysers on every single saucer.
The inside of the saucers have geysers, which is cute.
But there's only like 3 saucers, and the rides are pretty quick. So I didn't think that was the greatest.
It was all right.
It's good for families. Like it's certainly a very mild ride.
Yeah.
It's where Volcano Bay, for a family water park, has a lot of intense,
very thrilling,
very intense stuff.
Water slides.
And then there is the Puihi
is
the green one.
Family tantrum slides. And tantrums are the small Pro Slide tornadoes. So they're like little conical half pipes. These ones aren't even complete cones. They're
like open air, which is cool.
Yeah.
These are definitely the most
really
rainforest vibey rainforest slides out there in the rainforest area.
If you've driven to or around Orlando and you're on I-4 and the green water slide that looks like is just like dangling outside of the park and over I-4, that's the slide we're talking about. It's got 2 little horns. Then you come out of you do a U-turn into the first one, and then a 270 into the second one, and then a right turn into the flume. This one is really fun and satisfying. It's not as terrifying or like anyone that sees the big giant blue double tornado wave, the double quarter pipe slide, and sees that and thinks, okay, that's like a little terrifying, like height wise. This one is kind of a good one to start with because it's kind of a milder version of it. But you get to enjoy that rocking back and forth with these little tiny half
It's funny because the
pipes.
half pipes are pretty small, but the boats are really big. So you, no matter what size of party, you will get some air on that. So that's kind of fun.
We had a fun. Our first visit, we went just the 2 of us on this slide, and as you would think, because with social distancing and with weight maximums on a lot of these slides, there would be no reason for us to like join another party, but. We had a party in front of us trying to ride Pui'i today, and they were underweight.
They were too light.
There's a father and his son.
So, like, all 4 of us together, which you volunteered. I know it's not technically COVID safe, but I mean, these kids, we kind of had experienced a similar thing before at Soundwaves in Nashville, where we were the only 2 people. We need at least 3 people to ride, and we're like, well, this sucks because now it's COVID time, so you
Yeah.
have to ask someone else to ride with us. So we were like, well, let's pay it forward. Like, this kid wants to ride it, and his dad is like, well,
Yeah.
fuck, we're not.
Yeah.
Damn, we're not.
Yeah, they waited in line, and
We're
they
not heavy enough, I guess.
Yeah,
so we, two big boys, offered ourselves up, and so we got some good
and the
speed on
staff
that.
was cool with it. We were cool with it. Everyone was cool with it. We got a good ride out of it too because they, the four of us together were heavier than obviously just me and Sean in one 6-passenger boat. So it was that was a really good ride on it too. If you can get 6 people to ride this thing with you, like that's a ton of fun. I think that's when you really elevate the ride experience on this thing.
And then there is another slide tower, pretty much on the exact polar opposite of the park,
Yes.
and that's called the Honu and the Ika Moana slides.
Honu Ika Moana.
And it's themed to riding on the back of a sea turtle, and you have to watch out for the whales, which I'm not really sure how the story fits into the river country again. But
I think one,
village,
it's one of them is sea turtles and one of them is like blue whales.
No, I thought they were both. No, they're both sea turtles. They mentioned on them.
No, I think they
it's the
said
same
that,
audio for the whole slide.
I thought they said it was like one was sea turtle, like the green one is sea turtle and the blue is blue whale. That's how because the blue is the one that has the blowholes that you're supposed to watch out for because you will get wet.
Well, that's because you're a
was how I
turtle
interpreted
and there's whales with their blow. Why the hell would you, as a whale, be concerned about your own blowhole?
I don't know. I'm not a whale.
I thought you were a turtle, and the blowhole of the whale is
I'm pretty
in the
sure
way,
that
and that's what you are.
I think the blue
It's a
one
little
is
turtle.
the blue one is representing a whale.
I'm
And
pretty sure the
green
blue one is
slide
representing the part where you are the turtle, and there's a freaking
And there's a whale.
and you are like doing a heckin'.
Okay, well then
being
the
spotted
boat
up
is the
by
turtle,
it.
but the slide is the whale.
Whatever.
Okay.
I don't care. Honu is the whale.
Honu is the whale-looking one, and this is the one that's I think the most
I don't even think whale looking really explains it,
marketable.
but yeah,
looking.
it's a double wave.
It's a Picasso-looking whale. It's very mod. But it's a Pro Slide double tornado wave, the very first one of the only ones. There's actually one that looks just like this in Pigeon Forge now. At,
It looks a little
Soaky
scarier
Mountain.
than it is. So what it is that you have your 5-person raft, which is cool,
Love those.
and then you go around the corner. You have a big drop into a wave turn, which is really cool. The wave
Yeah.
turn is high. You look over the whole, like over the entirety of Volcano Bay. Like it is a tall turn. Then you have another drop into
To a
the
second
next
one,
one.
yeah.
But there's so much water slowing you down on purpose, obviously, because you can't go through
You don't
too
want to carry
fast.
too much momentum into this thing.
Because you'll really fly off the track.
I feel like
off the
this thing is so big
slide.
and beautiful, and the blue is so striking. It's sort of like their most marketable water slide, even though Krakatoa
It's
is
really
kind
popular.
of like the
It's
crown.
really popular.
But this thing is really like the most striking, eye-catching.
According to their website, it's also their highest rated water slide.
Yeah. So yeah, what's funny is like Aquatica next door, like they put in just a half of it. They put in a normal.
But they also
slide.
have Ray Rush.
But they have
and I
Ray
think
Rush,
Ray
which is
Rush
kind
is
of
very
like-
similar
yeah, that's
to these
true.
two combined.
Yeah, so it's a cool product. It's enough to make you feel like, well, any single Pro Slide tornado wave is now inadequate.
This fan slide is a must-do at Volcano Bay, but I will say after a couple of rides on it, I like the other one better.
Yeah.
Which is Ika Moana.
Yep.
Which Ika
This is
Moana
the
is
green
a
one.
green one,
It is a family constrictor.
and it is long. Like
It's
it is really
long.
long. Get a lot of speed, really good, and a lot of fog. So the whole ride feels like it's at least twice the length of Honu. Which Honu is like it's all about the gimmick. It's about the
Honu
walls
is
and
a raw
drops.
speed and
But I think what I enjoyed the most.
you come for
is
Honu,
Ika
but you
Moana.
stay for Ika Moana because Ika Moana comes down to like which is more satisfying after you've climbed all those stairs.
And waited for it.
And Ika Moana is kind of there. You get a lot of speed, and the ride still feels long, even though you are moving at quite a clip. And the constrictor moments, which constrictor slides from Pro Slide are slides that feature helixes, and the helixes are a wider tube than the rest of the slide, and it allows for a better use of centrifugal force. Your momentum that you carry through your slide, through your raft, it allows the raft to really ride the walls. You're not like when you think about it, it's like an inner tube is kind of like this big flat tortilla, and the slide itself will kind of try to fold your inner tube into a taco. And for a lot of like family raft slides, the slide isn't so narrow that the tube's just kind of squished as it rolls down there, and you're not necessarily getting the G's on the turns that you could. And constrictor slides have become a huge marketability and practicality success for Pro Slide, because I think they zeroed in on that, and they were like, you can get the G's and the wall riding sensation that you want out of a slide that has like helixes and stuff, just by making the turns in the helixes like thicker, and then your inner tube has more room to breathe, and there's a lot of science behind it. Somebody in Pro Slide was brilliant by making this thing, and they're like, it doesn't look that different. It doesn't look like it should have that much of an effect, but it totally does, because when you're in the constrictor helixes on
the walls, yeah,
and on the other slides, you feel it. You can feel the forces.
Oh yeah, the G-force is pretty wild.
So yeah,
it's funny because the big family slide, Ika Moana, the green one, that has the 5-person rafts, but in the more traditional types of slides that Alex mentioned, with just 2-person rafts, they have that too. So they have the slide tower called the Tonga of Tinawa tubes, which is 2 sets of slides.
Tonga of Taniwa.
Yeah, so you have Rocky, which is the ones with the
constrictors.
With the constrictors.
So it's 2 constrictor,
and then you have Tonga, which is the green
and
ones.
2 classic, old school double inner tube slides.
And the nice thing is about Volcano Bay is you don't really have to carry your raft for any of the slides.
Yeah, even these 2-person rides.
So even for the 2-person one, you pick up your raft like right before boarding. You only have to go up one set of stairs. So one platform is weighing and getting your rafts, and then the platform above that, you have the actual slide entries. Those are really fun.
These
I would
are really
say
fun.
They are so old school. Well, not really old school.
Very family friendly and nostalgic almost for someone like me.
A lot of parks have slides like these, so they didn't feel quite as special.
They're not as marketable. But
I would definitely say if you have to choose one of them, go for the blue ones or the rocky ones.
The blue ones are the constrictor ones. The green ones are pretty straightforward. But we rode one of the green ones. We rode both of the blue ones. We rode the light blue one on Monday and the dark blue one, which is the better one, we rode today.
Yeah, so if you get a chance, try to ride the dark blue one.
Yeah, if you retain anything from this podcast, these 4 double inner tube slides are the hardest to differentiate once you're in the park. But if you have any power at all in the decision making, try to go for the dark blue one. The teal blue one is also good because it's the other constrictor, and then the green ones are both straightforward inner tube slides, but they're fun in their own right as well. And these are, I like these. These are workhorse slides. These are the slides that will come through for your kids and your family when the whole park is super crowded.
It's one of the few slides that on a busy day I'll walk on.
Even on a busy day,
I
you
rode
can
now.
still.
I waited for it, but I got on.
Even on a busy day when you're tied up in another slide reservation, like capacity-wise, these ones will be there for you.
And given they're a little more traditional, especially to the public eye.
Yeah.
They don't usually crowd. They don't usually lose their reservations as quick.
Another one that's pretty traditional looking now also, and is kind of hidden, I think, in the mess of bigger and more marketable slides is Punga Racers.
So Punga Racers has quite the background.
Interesting history.
Punga Racers opened late because of a bit of a construction delay. And they were a very unique 4-racer mat slides that were speed racer. So you would really go down on mats face forward, and you would go through very untraditional layouts for mat racers.
Yeah.
You would really have big turns, outdoor, indoor, really fast drops, and the runouts are really short and really sudden, like after helix.
Yeah, it was actually. I'm pulling up pictures of how it used to look because they remodeled it. This ride went under the knife. They ended up demolishing like half of the entire attraction's infrastructure. When they converted this ride from a mat slide to a body slide.
So the slide was down for quite a while. So what happened was that it used to be a mat racer, and it was too violent, and a lot of people got hurt on it. In fact, it is like Universal Volcano Bay, like notorious water slide that sent 1 million people to the ER.
They became infamous for this slide.
All these lawsuits. I rode it as a racer, and I kid you not, I got off with like a bleeding knee. Because like by the time I got to the skim out, I was going really fast, and I just like
Didn't you lose your mat?
Well, I didn't completely lose on that, but like you're not really able to hold on to the mat very well, and the mat was like in front of me, and my knees were off the mat, and like we just slammed down, or I slammed down onto the skim out, and my knee was open, bleeding, and it sucked. Like it was really painful.
I remember you telling me this story, and I'm like, "Are you serious? This really happened?"
And like, it was pretty mild, but then like other people got knocked out, and some people even got sent to the ER.
Some people,
the ride was pretty.
Yeah,
it was for a mat racer. It was really, really designed. So and then they
It's a pity.
fabricated the track.
This thing reminds me. You remember the Mach 3? Raging Water San Dimas had one, and like the original big slide complex for Wet and Wild was a giant 3-slide tower of mat racers. Where
I do know that's. Are you talking about San Dimas?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, because I wrote those.
San Dimas,
High Extreme and San Dimas is like my favorite slide.
Well, yeah, the Mach 3 at Wet and Wild here was the same basic thing. So like before inner tube slides got really big. Mat slides.
Well, the one at San Dimas started as a toboggan slide, and then it changed to a mat racer.
Yeah,
like a two mat racer. That one's really spectacular.
I feel like this was their nod to the Mach 3 at Wet and Wild, but this was a huge oversight for them. It's a shame that it was such a disaster because like it was a really clever setup. I mean, even Google Maps still shows the original configuration. This was the only mat slide that I've ever seen where the mats went on their own conveyor belt up to the top of the slide, so you wouldn't have to bring them yourselves. And it was neat the way that the elevator conveyor system threaded the flume.
It was nice because when you walk around the park, the Punga racers kind of cover up like from the ground when you look up. They kind of hide all the superstructure of all the slides. Because there's a lot of slides inside the volcano.
Yeah, the backside of the volcano is
but it's really
open.
Ugly if you look at it right on.
The stuff that's down at
so Punga Races was a perfect way to kind of cover up all of the infrastructure and have like slides facing the other side of the midway. Now we rode them as body slides, and they were a lot more fun. Yeah, and they were a lot more pleasant. Still pretty intense.
Just like the double inner tube slides, the constrictor slides. This was kind of a nice, like, oh, this is old school. Like, this is a pleasant
being able to
throwback to the water slides of your childhood. And
definitely again, a little more family-friendly.
Workhorse slides, family-friendly. Not something you're going to have to wait in line for.
If you're looking to ride body slides, Volcano Bay has no options now except for, well, it used to have no options for body slides except for extreme stuff. Because, no. I would say that by American standards is really unusual.
Yeah, because that one they give you a briefing before. We'll get to that in a sec.
But now at least Punga Racers, that used to be really extreme too. Now it's a family body slide. They still race you with a timer, but I didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah, it used to be you either could do the kiddie slides, the little kiddie slides, or a slide that makes you go airborne into a 10-foot pool of water, or a body slide that drops you out of a coffin at 125 feet.
Volcano Bay had like family rap slides, or like you're gonna cry your way down slides.
Or body slides that will make you lose your faith. Like Punga Racers
is like a nice little repurposed now.
Yeah, it's kind of a pity. It's still manta ray themed, and it has the manta ray themed little station roof to.
Yeah, because you used to ride in the back of a ray.
The theme was. I'm sure the whole spiel was related to that. I mean, looking at pictures of it now, I didn't realize they did such a major infrastructural change. But yeah, they used to empty into like a very, like, not very deep or very long.
It was very shallow, and like, you would like slam into it. It was bad.
And now,
so bad,
as body slides, they completely... It looks like it was always meant to be this way, which kudos to them. It doesn't look like something that they had to hastily change or make... Like, it doesn't look like something that they did without much thought. Like, it looks like they took a lot of care.
You wouldn't know unless you knew.
Yeah, you wouldn't know unless you hear this backstory. The little elevator that would take the rafts up to the top, that's totally gone.
Like, it's funny. Another thing that underwent changes... that you wouldn't know unless you know is Krakatau Aqua Coaster, because the vehicle for Krakatau are different. They changed up the vehicles for them. I rode it originally like a year and a half ago with really beautifully themed canoe style looking
the long boats. Yeah,
but now they're just like regular boats with a little bit of a pattern on the sides. It's kind of funny.
The regular boats, it looks a lot like if you've ridden Wildebeest or Deluge at Holiday World or Kentucky Kingdom. Like, the boats are very straightforward now. I think it's probably for the best. I think a couple of years with the original boats and the way that they looked and like the marketability of the boats and the look of them was like priceless. But now riding it, I'm glad. Like, looking at point of views with the old boats. It's like you have the nose of the boat like up at eye level, kind of like obstructing your view, whereas now like there's no view obstruction because it's just a basic raft. It's a nice looking raft, but it's a basic raft. We like this ride. I know it's not your favorite.
Well, the Krakatoa Aqua Coaster is definitely very family friendly. I think I liked it better the first couple times riding it because I had a full boat.
Yeah.
Now, the layout is honestly not that inspired. Like, there's a couple of moments where it's really interwoven with the exterior of the volcano and it looks cool, but the majority of the ride is just turn, drop, lift, turn, drop, lift, turn, drop, lift, and then the last drop is really good. I'm always forced to sit in the back because I'm always a large person at the party. And so I never really seem to catch as much air except for at the very end of the ride. It's a really good ride, but I do think that for a water coaster, length doesn't necessarily make a water coaster. And Volcano Bay has so many awesome rides, like best in category almost kind of rides.
Top tier family
and I don't
raft
think it's the best like water coaster. Like I think the water coasters at Holiday World, which I didn't even like the park, like those water coasters are better.
Yeah, no tea, no shade, but yeah. I like Krakatoa, but yeah, I get to sit in seat 2. Sean has to sit in seat 4. So I
even though we're like only a few pounds apart from each other.
Yeah, I catch air, coming down each drop while Sean's, bringing up the rear, helping me, get that momentum. So thank you for that. But
yeah,
I can understand. Like for me, I'm like having a great ass time.
And when you're in the turns, I don't feel like they're dead intense. I mean, it's a really good slide, and that's the one thing we always go to first because it's really popular. I would say the most popular attraction there.
Yeah,
and I generally enjoy riding it. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best water coaster because I've ridden better ones.
You make a point of riding it because that's the most coveted experience.
And it's a long ride. Like I am definitely someone that appreciates length because I don't, especially in water parks, man, I don't feel like standing in line for stuff or having a reservation for hours and then it being like a 20-second commitment. I want something that's, bang for my buck sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so even though it's that by far not my favorite water coaster in the world, I will say that like it is long. And at the end of the day, I just want to sit in this boat and get wet for like a minute. Yeah. And if that is what it takes, then I'm still going to enjoy it.
And it's obviously it's a huge, huge crowd pleaser. Like everyone is obsessed with this ride.
Yeah. And the integration of it's really kind of nice because the station hovers over the Fearless River and it looks like an ancient ruin. And the actual water coaster takes place mostly in the mishmash of infrastructure inside the volcano. So off-ride, it's a very aesthetically pleasing ride. Even when you're in the wave pool and you look at the waterfall coming from the top of the volcano, there's a bit of slide sticking out. And so I do like what void it fills, and it's really an essential attraction.
Yeah, the role that it plays,
like it's really
it's
important.
The number one thing that I feel like Aquatica is missing is like an uphill water coaster. It's got a few rides that are kind of similar. I mean, Ray Rush has a moment as a launch. Yeah. Does like the Whitewater West sheet of water, and then the new racing slide, which obviously that's not
really coasters, but
not really an uphill water coaster, but certainly a high capacity, lengthy water slide experience that will be pretty unique to this market. We look forward to riding that when it opens. I guess the last of the slides that you could potentially consider. I guess next is just the body slides. Friendly. You don't think Oh Yeah, Oh No are family friendly?
Well, I would say that maybe Oh Yeah is family friendly, but Oh No definitely isn't.
So Oh Yeah and Oh No are two very similar slides.
They are very unique. First and foremost for the American water slide market or for the whole scene, because in Europe it's pretty common to have water slides. I'm sure in Asia it's pretty common too because it's just less of a lawsuit heavy place, but it's pretty common in Europe to have water slides that end several feet or meters above the pool, and then you drop into the deep pool. Now, in the U.S., it's almost unheard of because kids don't have to necessarily swim very well here, and people will sue a water park if your kid doesn't swim.
These kinds of slides I remember riding them at Raging Waters San Jose as a child, but that
didn't last.
That was in the 90s. Yeah. Like, I don't know if this has been it's not something you would find easily somewhere else in Orlando. It's not something that like Disney put in their water parks because it's not considered something that's like easy for kids to do. And like kids can do it. And there's a way, Volcano Bay did a great job of going about it where like you get a little safety briefing at the top of the slide. Like they ask you, are you a strong swimmer?
They're pretty intense about it.
They don't ask, can you swim?
And it's fair because, so you have two. You have Oh Yeah and Oh No. Oh Yeah is green and has a 3-foot drop into the pool after you get out.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're riding and you aren't used to sort of ending,
when you're used to just ending,
you're not good
into
at swimming,
a pool or into
it's not pleasant.
A slide out.
And then there is Oh No, which is purple, and after a couple of helices, you have a 6-foot drop into the Temple.
Yeah, the ride layouts are roughly the same, except that they're stacked on top of each other, with the purple one being higher.
On top, yeah.
And they're almost identical, except the purple one is just the whole ride is raised up 3 feet for clearancing purposes and for that bigger.
And they have
drop
like
into
artificial big waterfalls. I will say this is the best.
Pretty looking.
This
ride.
is the best integrated ride in the whole park. It has its own pool, its own kind of beach.
What's
it really
interesting is you look
thing.
at it from the midway, and another reason why they have to brief you on this thing is
you don't know what's happening.
You get in line for this ride from the midway; it's pretty much sight unseen. You don't.
All you see is beautiful rocks and like this little.
And you just see that it's
swinging
a water
bridge
slide
that goes up to it
with like
and
a really nice queue. This is one of the more pleasant like queues because it's not
just
a slide
beautiful.
tower.
The landscaping in period, it's like its own little.
These are the only
area.
water slides that are integrated to some kind of like natural terraforming themed structure, other than the volcano or just a slide tower. Like the family raft slides,
even the volcano has
inner tube slides,
the ugly backside. But
yeah, so this is really
I would
one
say
of the
that
nicer.
The red drop slide and Oh No are the only 3 slides that are completely integrated,
thematically cohesive. Where you're climbing up these things and sliding down, and it doesn't feel like you're necessarily on a steel man-made superstructure thing. But yeah, these are cool slides. But yeah, I mean, it's easy for me to forget how deep 10 feet is until I'm doing this thing, and I because we're big guys, and I'm hitting I break the surface of the water, and I feel like I go so far down.
I'm used to jumping off of diving boards as a kid, so for me it's still like pretty pleasant. But I will say that for that reason, the green one really I didn't enjoy that one because I almost felt like it was so lame compared to the purple one.
Yeah.
Like the 3 feet makes a difference.
Oh No has a much longer line. Usually, it's much more popular.
Again, Oh No is the big one.
Like the second one, the purple one. When we went today, that one you had to tap in for and come back.
That's where you could ride the other one.
Whereas, the green one was ride now.
But yeah, those are really fun, and those are one of my favorite slides there because they're pretty unique. Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I really do look for stuff that is unique to Volcano Bay, and it's just really pretty.
I feel like Volcano Bay does a great job of there's a lot of attractions that will make you feel that they're a polished, good-looking and good-riding versions of stuff that you remember from water parks in the 90s, and then a bunch of really next-gen, state-of-the-art water slide technology stuff like the family slides and Krakatoa and the the 3 capsule drop slides.
I mean, let's talk about it through capsule drop slides.
Yeah.
So Volcano Bay has the 3 tallest drop slides in the world.
Yeah.
Well, the drop pods. So for those that aren't familiar with it, I'm sure you've seen a video of it somewhere on social media or on YouTube. It is you stand into a capsule and then the floor drops. It's like a hydraulic floor that flips it really quick. You can hit it.
There's water running against your back, you're already in the slide basically.
And then the floor you have drops. A much faster start because your whole body, gravity immediately takes over. There's no curving into it.
And these have become super popular.
They're all over the world.
Wet n Wild was
now.
The original.
It's crazy.
That was developed in 1993, so it took a long time for it to catch on. I think Wet n Wild's version was not very comfortable at the time, so I don't know if it...
Back in the days of the box slides.
It wasn't, I don't think it caught on very quickly because, people knew that there had been an attempt to do this, and it wasn't universally well-liked for whatever reason. Either it was considered too scary, not marketable, not safe for kids, tears up your feet, whatever... but then ProSlide and Whitewater West, somewhere along the way, both developed better, kind of more comfortable versions. And now these are standard because the speed slides of my childhood, where you go down a 80-degree water slide that you just push yourself over the edge of, these are safer. These are a safer ride experience.
Yeah, the whole push over the edge or the open air aspect of it is. It's uncontrollable. So you can't, every one of these pods is obviously indoors. So there's no when you drop, even if the slide ends up being outdoor,
there's not a lot of user
no
error.
involvement of you because
There's no rider
you can't
error.
hold on or anything. You're just going.
I mean, like Magic Mountain was a perfect example. They used to have the black
Demon drop,
the Venom drop,
yeah.
and it was just their perfect black speed slide. And someone
was stupid and thought you could go down head
get a
first
running start or something, and that was
So
Magic Mountain. You know, I'm sure there are many other examples of experiences like that. Parks like Kings Island, for example, completely ripped out their speed slides in favor of more family-friendly attractions like a Kraken Racer or a Octopus Racer in Kings Island's case. But you're not seeing a lot of parks build the push yourself over the edge speed slides anymore because these are just safer. You can't any idiot could just fling themselves off of the edge of one of these platforms if they were so inclined. But with a capsule slide, once you put them in the capsule, you could only do so poorly. There's a much lower margin of user error once you put someone in the capsule, because even if they totally screw up their riding position or whatever, like they're still going to survive. They're still going to, even if you had a death wish and just were trying to, see how badly you could screw up your trajectory, you're still going to be in much better shape on a capsule slide than you could be on Venom Drop, because obviously that dude probably wound up in the ER. I don't know.
He made it, though.
He did survive.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll talk about the Universal ones.
Didn't he land in a tree?
No, he turned on the concrete. I mean, it's 6 months. Like, there are no trees at Hurricane Harbor.
Oh,
okay.
God.
So we'll talk about the 3 body plunges, or the 3 drop-out slides.
The serpentine slides.
Which are the blue and green
Kala
one.
and Tainui. Kala's
so we'll just refer
one.
to them as blue and green.
And these are very important. The differentiation is important.
I will tell you now that if you haven't done any of these, or you haven't done them in a while, or you think you've done them, but you've done not tall versions.
Other dropout slides.
These are nearly 13 stories tall, and it may not sound that crazy, but they are pretty wild. So the most straightforward one, and that's the one we'll start with, is the red one.
Yeah, the red one. Yeah, we touched on it a few times before. By now, you already know that it's the most basic. It's just a straight drop. It's the Bombay. Or like Deepwater Dive at Kentucky Kingdom, which had the record for highest drop box slide.
There's a reason why it has a completely different name and also a completely different queue.
Yeah.
The weight limit is higher, 300 foot.
300 pounds.
300 pounds, sorry. and the queue is located next to the Reef Rec Pool on the other side. Now, it's actually a really cool slide because it has a couple of really interactive features that I haven't seen before. So the slide is... It is kind of meant to be interwoven with the waterfalls of the volcano.
It's meant to represent basically riding a waterfall down the side of this volcano.
So the beginning of the drop slide is a acrylic tube that blends with the water. So
we call it the red one, but really only the drop pod is red.
Yeah.
That's really the only part of the slide that is...
That's funny. Only the drop pod really is red.
The drop pod is red. The rest of the ride is either acrylic or completely obscured
but you
by
can't really see it because
the
it's covered.
Volcano itself.
Yeah, okay, so we call it the red one, that's because the drop pod is red and the logo is red. But in reality, the majority of the slide is actually acrylic or black and hidden in rocks. So the first, I would say, about 3 stories, about the first 30 to 40 foot of the drop.
It's a clear tube,
and you see it. And you go through the waterfall, so you can see it from off-ride. You can look at people dropping through the water.
You're in the wave pool.
Or when you're riding it and you don't have to close your eyes.
Yeah.
Then you look at the theme parks and at the wave pool below, and you will as you go down, really cool. Then there is about, I would say, 60 to 70 foot, whatever's left, 80 foot, where you're completely in rock work. It's completely hidden, this slide. It's crazy nice.
Yeah, the vast majority of this slide is not visible.
Yeah,
There's only
you wouldn't even know it's there unless you were
see.
really looking for it.
The part at the very top that's clear, or the part that is on a very shallow slope. It's almost flat, but not quite.
So once you get all the way down the big drop, you are on a slope that ends into the splash pool. But that part of that tube actually is in the rec pool. Yeah. So there's not a clear part of the slide where
right in between the wave pool and the rec pool. The rec pool is elevated 1 story. So from the wave pool, you're looking up 10 feet up at the
Reef Rec Pool.
At the Reef Rec Pool, and partitioning the Reef Rec Pool from the wave pool is a good 20-foot stretch of this water slide, and it's all clear, and you just see the people tear through it.
at like however fast they're going. They're
Yeah.
going fast. So yeah, people drop.
It's such a great spectator.
People
sport.
drop the whole 13 stories, and then they end up going through that piece
the little
of
clear part.
the clear
And then
part
they
at the
disappear.
fastest speed.
There's like this rock work bit separating the clear part by the pools and the splash pool.
And there's a really cool water effect.
The water cannon.
There's a giant water cannon that spits out.
It fires every time
water.
somebody hits the
It's really
splash
short,
pool.
but it's very spectacular, and it's almost more of an event off ride than on ride.
It's a great
I would say
spectator
that
attraction.
people always talk about Krakatoa Aqua Coaster as like the water side of Volcano Bay, but I will personally say that the Volcano Bay like mascot
The
for me
experience
is this body
It's this
slide
body
because
slide.
it is like. It is the volcano.
Yeah,
really. It's
when
not
you're
just,
looking at like the scenic side, we talk. There's like kind of the business end and the party side of this volcano. The back side of it's like almost looking backstage at something with all of the serpentine slides and Krakatoa and Punga racers woven into it. But the pretty side, that's just waterfalls. You almost wouldn't know. You have to look for this slide. You have to look for that clear tube bit through all of the waterfall and rockwork because. Like pictures of it, it's easier to see it in person, but photographs of Volcano Bay, it's not as easy to tell that there's a water slide right there in plain sight.
I always kind of forget unless I'm riding. Yeah, that it's even there because it's so nice and hidden.
So if you've never done dropout slides before, they're really fun. And if you wind up at Volcano Bay and you happen to have never done a dropout slide before, this is the one to start with.
Yeah, so generally I would say they're really almost universally just great slides, but there is this point where like you can really push the limits on attractions,
Yes.
and that's really what they did with these. They're the tallest in the world, and there's two that are
The
located in the
serpentine
rainforest
slides,
area,
which are their own attraction.
right next to Oh No and
The
Oh Yeah.
platforms are the same. It's one operational platform, but you can
there's
only
different stairs and queues,
You queue for the red one or you queue for blue or green.
which is also because of the weight limit, but also because
the weight limit and because really the experiences are vastly different.
So then you have the green and blue ones, and those are called the
Kala is
And
the blue
Tai
one,
Nui.
and Tai Nui. Now Kala is pretty fun. The blue one is your mid. It's your moderate.
It's intense
intensity. It's very
and long,
intense.
but it is very
It's
approachable.
a
Like I would
similar-
definitely advise doing that one before the green one.
If you've been to Aquatica, I would say it's slightly more intense than Ehu's Breakaway Falls, just because it's longer. There's more of it.
and taller, yeah, obviously.
Or if you've been to like any of the Six Flags parks that have these dropout slides with like the helixes and stuff in them, this is just a longer version of that, but it's not terribly offensive. I don't know if I need to ride it again, but like
I would ride the blue one again.
the blue one I'd ride again. The green one,
The green one is very intense. So the blue one, there's a longer run out after the initial
drop, there's
into a couple of bigger turns, and then you
It
go
gets
pretty
tight
fast
in the middle,
and then you
and then
end
it finishes with a helix.
big turns.
Yeah,
And then a helix. So like the blue one gives you a lot more breathing in between elements. Now the green one is hidden completely
The green
from
one
the public. There's no
is-
side of looking at it unless you look from the backside.
so
And the drop immediately turns into a helix,
yeah,
into
it
an
drops
S-turn,
into
almost
like a
immediately
double
an S-turn.
figure eight. Like it's so the amount the swiftness
And the G-forces are
and
insane.
the tightness of the
Absolutely
turns
insane.
on this green one. Maybe it's just because like we're so close to the weight
we're close
maximum.
to the weight maximum, so for kids it may not be as intense.
Like,
but
yeah,
if you're
the less you
tall or
weigh,
big
the
person,
less aggressive this will be. But if you're like pushing 250, which of course the cap is 275, so we're pretty much as big as it gets as far as
yeah, if
being
you're
able to
like
ride
between
these things.
110 and 125.
I almost feel like the
kilograms,
green one
if
could
you're
have an
listening
even
from the-
lower height or lower weight requirement because I feel like the blue one was comfortable enough, but the green one pushed me beyond what I would consider to be like a comfortable, enjoyable experience.
Now here's the thing: I liked green a lot more when I rode the blue the first time, but when I rode green the first time, like I couldn't even keep my head.
Yeah,
Like I was just bouncing my head off.
we were
of
not
the,
prepared.
off of the
yeah.
fiberglass, and my arms shot out of the position because you have to cross your arms across your legs, and my arms for some reason caught air pretty quickly
Yeah.
after the drop, and
when you cross your arms,
my arms were like
the arm
loose,
that
but I
would
couldn't
cross
pull them up
under-
because of the forces.
the
and
arm
I
that
was
we
getting
cross
waterboarded.
under is the one that we use to plug our noses. We always plug our nose on these slides. You cross one arm over, like forearm vertical on your chest, plugging your nose.
The
and
other
you
one
wrap
you
your
put
other
on your
arm
elbow
around it, like grab
or
your shoulder. That's the riding position we use, so that we don't get water up our noses. And
he can still breathe.
Sean really went through it on his greens. I mean, my green slide experience was not pleasant.
I hadn't ridden him a year and a half, and I honestly just didn't remember being this crazy. So going down that drop, my arms, I guess, caught air immediately, and so one of my arms got undone, and then the other one got undone pretty much right after. But I couldn't pull them back up because this slide is just never-ending centrifugal forces. Like, it's just by being pushed against those slide walls, obviously, like really intensely. So like I couldn't lift my head up, and I was just getting all this water like in my face. It's getting waterboarded pretty hard, and like I couldn't pull my arms back up to cover my nose and go back into my usual position of having my crossed arms. And so I really hit my head pretty hard a couple of times, just bouncing it up and down on that slide. Again, I'm really close to the weight limit. Well, not really close, but I'm at least, I'm about 10 pounds away from it. So I am definitely like one of the heavier guys who can ride this. So I definitely had the worst of it, I guess. But yeah, it was pretty intense. I did have a good time.
We were jokingly, we were like, afterward, he's like, I am straight up not having a good time. Like, that was
because
not
then the green one ends with like a drop.
With the drop,
so you go in super fast. You drops out of a like 125-foot drop pod, and you're going through all these freaking helices, and then like you think you're safe, and then this mother effing green slide throws a drop at you, and like you are literally face to face with the top of the slide.
If this was Roller Coaster Tycoon, the slide would be like ultra extreme, and the peeps wouldn't ride it. I feel like if people knew what to expect from this green slide, they wouldn't do it.
I'll be honest, like on a
unless they were toward the lower end of the spectrum. But I feel like if you're,
I will ride it again, but like I need to be prepared.
I don't know if I could. I would need to lose like 30 pounds before I ride it again, because the blue one's all right.
But like red's my
the red one is so pleasant comparatively.
Red is like absolute fave.
I never thought that like a 125-foot drop box slide would be my idea.
That's the favorite slide of Volcano Bay.
Pleasant. Yeah, I would have to agree.
Like, it's weird. Like, my favorite part of all of Volcano Bay is the reef. I just like sitting in the deep wave pool, hanging over the acrylic slide, seeing people slide by, looking at the volcano. No kids because they can't swim there. And easy access to a bar. And I can just hop out, go onto the red slide, and slide back down to the reef and hang out again.
Going to that deep end of the pool, it's like, it's pretty much no kids allowed. Like, unless you're... Again, it's one of those, like, you have to be a good swimmer sorts of things. So, like, there's the buoy markers that represent going to the deep side of that rec pool is, like, great because it's kind of a no-kid zone.
The first time we weren't even allowed to go there, but then I was like, can we go here? And
the blue buoys you can go through if you're an adult, I guess, and then red buoys you can't pass through. There's a few areas of Volcano Bay that are blocked off right now because you're technically supposed to be wearing a mask when you're not, actively riding a water slide. So... There's walkways there's walkways that pass under the waterfalls, and a wading pool area that's part of the rec pool that's under the waterfall. And right now, because of what's technically required, that you can walk around the park without a mask basically, and they won't say anything. It's pretty low risk for anyone that's willing, to keep their distance. But any sort of midway.
Yeah, if you go to a bar, or restaurant, anything like that, you have to have a mask on. But if you are just walking around in the open air or going on slides or in the water and stuff, you don't have to have a mask. So even though it's kind of weird to walk around without a mask for as long, because I'm not the biggest fan of that, it was fine because we kept our distance, and it's pretty easy in Volcano Bay. It's a big water park. Most of your time is spent away from people.
You can really appreciate...
And people were good about distancing in the queue, so I will say that...
Pool, the way the rec pool is separated from the wave pool by the Ko'okiri body plunge, it's really striking. You can see the piece of acrylic slide that separates the two pools, and then the catch pool at the end that has the...
It's funny because the very end of it is like open air, but you go so fast, like I didn't even freaking notice.
Yeah, you don't even realize. Yeah,
I guess Whole Pizza's open, but like I don't even notice that. That's how fast you go.
But yeah, I think that's probably their best product there. As far as a thrill seeker, as far as we're concerned, I think a lot of people would still, anyone that just doesn't think that anything that tall or that fast on your back is anything more than sadistic, like. Then Krakatoa.
I mean, I'll be honest. It is really not for everyone. I would say that the reason there's only 3 of these super tall body slides, even though the water park is very highly attended, It's just because it is a niche attraction.
Super niche.
The whole water park is a great family product. I would say one of the best family water park products out there. Almost everything is completely family friendly. And then you have the 3 body plunges that are really intense. And then you have Oh Yeah, Oh No. Depending if your kid can swim, it can be a family ride.
Yeah.
I would not say by default the family slide just because...
I mean, if your kids are daredevils, they can ride. Height requirements for this stuff is pretty low. It's all about weight maximums and minimums. So I guess as far as, like, if your kid's a daredevil, they'll find satisfaction in a lot of this. Especially if you're just barely over the weight minimums on these body plunge slides. They're not going to carry that much momentum. I mean, they'll still complete the slide, obviously. That's why everything is at a slope, even if you would think that momentum would carry you through. Everything's at a slope so that, nobody stops on these slides. But, the less you weigh, probably the less terrifying the body plunge slides are. Really, any body slide or any water slide in general feels a lot less terrifying when you're not carrying as much momentum. But yeah, I mean, we've been thinking, being at Volcano Bay these last couple of days, we've thought a lot about, like, Orlando and the water park market, and we will admit that this is the best water park product in Florida that we're aware of, if not the entire United States. But Universal still, for marketing purposes, will tell you, will do everything in their power to convince you that this is their third gate, and while it's certainly a better product than, like, the Disney water parks or even Aquatica, it's still really audacious to say that this is as much of a gate.
The water park is no bigger, also, just for the record.
It's
the water park is no bigger than
size.
Aquatica. Like, it's about the same size.
It's a better use of space in a lot of ways. But yeah, if you're...
better integrated. Like, the final touches are definitely a little more prominent and a little better worked out at Volcano Bay, but I mean, there's more slides at Aquatica. Like, if you want real talk, there's more slides.
If you've been to the Disney water parks, like, you're not gonna feel like this is that much bigger or that much more. It's gonna feel nicer, and it's gonna feel smarter, and it's gonna feel like, so this is 30 years of, like, Floridian water park technology rolled into one product. Everything that we learned from Wet n Wild, from Typhoon Lagoon, from Blizzard Beach, from Aquatica, it finds a home here. So it's enough to say that, like, well, this is a water park. This is the water park experience to end all water park experiences. If you've never been to this place and you like water parks, you should go, and it's worth your time if you're doing an Orlando trip. If you have even a remote interest in water parks or a remote fascination or curiosity, it is worth the effort.
Now, I do want to see what Volcano Bay can do as when it comes, like, their Phase 2, because their Phase 2 was supposed to come really shortly after Phase 1.
Yeah.
It's not even under construction yet.
Yeah.
There's a little plot led
some dirt
at the
around.
back of the park,
Yeah.
where they can build the next little loop around.
Yeah.
There won't be any laser rivers there. I really hope that they go for something crater themed because it's so close to the roads.
Yeah.
But you know what? We'll have to see, given that Epic Universe is currently on hold, and the fact that 2020 wasn't kind of the industry by any means. So we'll have to see when we'll actually see the expansion. But I do think right now that in order to handle the crowds that they want to see for Volcano Bay, they need to have a little more to do. Like, there's a lot to do, don't get me wrong, but for what is to be the world's best water park on paper, I think they need a couple more slide structures with some cool, unique stuff. Maybe even a actual coaster, like a coaster from Volcoma.
The Volcoma Water Bombers. Anyone who's familiar with the United Arab Emirates theme park boom, the water park of Abu Dhabi, Yas Water World, which is located on Yas Island, which is where the Ferrari World theme park is located. Yas Water World is a spectacular Volcano Bay style pro slide showcase, and the ride lineups and the whole theme and feel and energy is very similar to Volcano Bay. This park has an actual roller coaster, and if you're familiar with the roller soaker at Hershey Park or the flying super saturator at Carowinds, there's been a lot of attempts at, like, little single rail or small gauge suspended coasters where you can drop bombs of water on passersby below. Both Hershey Park and Carowinds retired their suspended water coasters. Hard Rock Park had one for 1 year. That ride has been retired. Even Wet and Wild Emerald Point in North Carolina had a brief, experiment with a single rail suspended coaster that would drop water on its riders. None of these products have ever been very successful. Really, like the single rail suspended coaster as a concept has been very attractive to a lot of clients, but most have decided that it just wasn't working. Coincidentally, Pteranodon Flyer at Universal Orlando Resort is really one of the only examples of a single rail suspended coaster. Even though this was, and it's not a water suspended coaster like so many of the other examples of this ride type were throughout the U.S. and overseas. It would be interesting to see them do something kind of like that, like a Pteranodon Flyer that's obviously a better capacity version. Vekoma's got the product. And
well, I think the main thing is that the one way that they really set themselves apart is the interactive features of Tapu Tapu. And so the whole idea of this water coaster is that it's interactive with the audience that's not riding.
Yeah.
So it'd be really cool to have like Tapu Tapu features to splash people on the ride and vice versa. I think they could make it work. And I think then they can really claim to be a water theme park.
If they really want to say, like, this is a third gate, like, this is more than just a water park, they're on their way. They could comfortably say they've got the best water park product around, but it's still an uphill battle to convince people that it's your third gate. But if you put a roller coaster in there, like a real roller coaster, and it's been done. It might seem like a lofty desire or a far-fetched expectation, but this is a lofty, far-fetched water park, and they've done a lot, and it's not beyond the realm of consideration that they would just drop a roller coaster in there, a water ride roller coaster, and say, like, this is a major attraction. This is what you would find at a dry park, but it's a water ride for this park, and this is how we now anchor this third gate. So either that or a family raft slide that is an uphill slide, because this park has a fascination with family slides, and we're big fans of Mammoth at Holiday World, and it would be cool to see them do a sequel to Krakatoa that is the 6 passenger.
I just think that the park could really use some more capacity because it gets really crazy on busy days.
So maybe
it's not as enjoyable a product.
A suspended water coaster like Aqua Bomber may not be the best investment as far as like cash versus capacity. But if they were going to build another, if they're looking at more and more water slides, which there's nothing wrong with that, it may not be as revolutionary, but if they're looking at another, adding another people eater that's super marketable, I think the uphill family water coasters would be the next obvious choice. But we'll just have to see. I would like to see, I guess, the Disney water parks. Typhoon Lagoon built their little water coasters as kind of a preemptive strike against Aquatica in 2006, and then Typhoon Lagoon also built Misfortune Falls, the family raft slide, as kind of like their reaction to Volcano Bay. And I guess, like, we've always talked about how, like, Disney World doesn't really treat their water parks like gates. You would never catch a Disney person saying that, like, Walt Disney World is a 6-gate resort. They really just treat these water parks as good, but, glorified resort pools.
It's like it's an upsell method.
It's an upsell.
Park Hopper Plus or extra day, a certain amount of days at the resort. It is a place to put people when it's hot out and it's busy, and that is, they serve a good purpose. They still have really high attendance for that. But I really think if you're gonna, seek the best water park experience in Orlando, you want to go to Volcano Bay.
And even like Aquatica went a long way to say that, like, well, we think water parks can be an asset, like a major marketing asset to your resort. Aquatica was really the first water park in Central Florida to take that idea to heart and say, like, we're going to build something that's pleasant and cohesive and something that you would want to do for a whole day, and it's not just something that you attach to your vacation package. This is a destination. I think it's Florida. It was Florida's first, like, destination water park, because even Wet and Wild at the time, which Aquatica's biggest competitor really was Wet and Wild because of the demographic and the location. Wet and Wild was small and compact, and it had some great attractions. And I think
mostly outdated though.
And I think Aquatica really put the pressure on.
Aquatica was the first water park, I would say, outside of Disney in the U.S. that really went for a naturalistic approach. They really wanted to combine off-ride experiences with on-ride experiences, like dolphin plunge, going through the dolphin tanks.
I love that ride.
Having animals spread out throughout the park, having 2 wave pools, 2 lazy rivers. It was one of the first experience, integration, interactive water parks, and Aquatica really kind of led to what we see now as Volcano Bay, because when Aquatica opened, I mean, Wet and Wild was outdated, crazy outdated. They had to do something. So I will say that Volcano Bay really, I mean, it's the most recent, obviously, water park. I mean, maybe H2O Live opened later.
Yeah, H2O Live came later. H2O Live is cute. It's a nice product, but it's very straightforward. They're not really trying to revolutionize the industry or reinvent the wheel. I think it's a good product for the Margaritaville Resort. It's a nice asset for that part of Kissimmee. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's also not much to write home about. But it's also a cost-efficient resort, and if you're in that area, if you're looking for, or if you're just a water park junkie, there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it's a handsome-looking product when you're driving down the 192. I don't know if we'll ever go there unless we did something as media. But yeah, it's there's room for it in the market. I think Orlando's always going to have room for either another water park or a better, for a water park experience that's trying to fix whatever water park flaws have been bogging the industry down. I feel like it's harder. Once you go to a good water park, it's harder to say that you don't like water parks, because when I was a kid, I liked water parks, but I also felt like they were hot and uncomfortable and ugly and concrete, and the slides were too short, the lines were too long, and a lot of that is being addressed by the industry. And I think the handiwork of addressing those issues is very apparent at Aquatica. Well, it's apparent at Aquatica, but very, very apparent at a place like Volcano Bay. So thinking on those lines, we thought we would do an episode to just talk about water parks and say, hey, we haven't really talked about water parks in detail, and we've been in a water park mood, and we're discovering Volcano Bay, even though it's been here for a few years. But I think it was. I'm glad we did this.
I had fun. I'm glad we have a pass.
Yeah,
for all 3
I'm glad we
now.
upgraded, even though they're going to be closed for 5 months. I look forward to revisiting in April, or maybe hitting it again now before their closures. Although, I mean, I'm very satisfied with our visits. But I don't know. I may say that now, and then by the time November rolls around, I could also say I might regret not going back a 3rd time. But we'll see.
But yeah, all in all, if you're in Orlando and you are picking one water park, I would say definitely give Volcano Bay a chance. And if not Volcano Bay, then Aquatica is another good option as well.
Yeah.
But overall, we really liked Volcano Bay a lot more than my first visit. And it's a good overall product. There's a couple of really great highlight attractions there. So we wanted to just kind of talk about that with you guys and kind of give you our opinion of the water park. And with that, we'll kind of finish the episode.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
We got a bunch of episodes.
I don't think we'd be able
already.
to talk about this for 90 minutes. I guess we're not quite at 90 minutes. But.
So yeah, check out our new episodes. We have UK special. We have a special on Fly. We have our manufacturer talk part 1 and 2 by the time this episode comes out. And then, of course, thecozygames.com. Lots of awesome articles. We have a larger team now, so that's exciting.
Follow us on social media.
And, of course, leave a review. Spread our podcast. We're really kind of trying to get the world to know that we also do podcasts in addition to our usual stuff. So thank you for listening. I'm out. You're out. Have a good night. Morning.
Bye.